probably your most difficult problem here is when you're going to know any two terms of a sequence, and what you're going to have to do is you have to use that information to find a formula for your nth term. So for example 5, it says our second term of a sequence is negative 18. So we're going to say a sub 2 is negative 18. And the fifth term is 2/3. So we're going to say a sub 5 equals 2/3. We need to find our sixth term. Well, we can't just say a sub 6 is equal to something because we need to know what our ratio is here. So if we want to know what our ratio is, what we can do is we can say, well, to find your fifth term, if we went from our second term and we need to find our ratio, well, we know the difference between 5 and 2 is a 3. So we can plug these numbers in. So we can say for our fifth term we had a 2/3. For your second term you had a negative 18, r cubed. So let's solve this for r to find our ratio. So this is where it gets a little bit tougher, but not too bad. So we're going to multiply both sides by a negative 1/18. Multiply by a negative 1/18. And so you end up getting a, well, those cancel. You get negative 1/27. Now that's not your ratio, that is your ratio cubed. So in order to figure out how to get rid of a cube, well, we just take the cube root. The cube root of a negative 1 is just negative 1. The cube root of a 27 is just 3. So in this case, our r, our ratio, is a negative 1/3. Now you could plug in to find your whole equation, by using the a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to all that stuff, and you could plug in values. But don't we know if our ratio is a negative 1/3 that we can just multiply your previous term, since we're trying to find a sub 6, can we just multiply by a negative 1/3? So if we take 2/3 times a negative 1/3, you're going to end up getting a negative 2/9. That is how you can find your sixth term. Now say it wasn't your sixth term, maybe it was like your 8th or 12th term you had to find, then maybe you plug these values into your equation. You say, well, a sub n is equal to negative 18, and our ratio is a negative 1/3 times n minus 1, and that's your formula you're going to use to find any other term.